for UFC 301 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, going down May 4th. The main event is set. The flyweight championship of the world will be defended. Alexandre Pantoja gets his opponent, and it may not be who you think it was. Steve Erceg, the number 10 ranked flyweight in the world, debuted, I think, last June or July in the UFC. And in under one full year, he will be fighting for the chance to have gold wrapped around his waist. He's 3-0 in the organization, 2 top 15 victories. I saw a lot of people crapping on this fight, saying that it wasn't deserving, yada, 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 whoop-de-doo. I don't think it's that crazy, to be quite honest with you. Him and Muhammad Mokaev fought on the very same card. Steve Erceg had the more impactful win. He knocked out Matt Schnell. I'm a big believer in Muhammad Mokaev. He probably will hold the flyweight title one day. But you match in all of his injuries that he's been having, paired with maybe not as many great performances. And I think that's what led to the UFC going with Steve rather than Mokaev. And honestly, these two guys weren't even the number one contenders, if you ask me. I thought that Brandon Royval, being that he said he was ready to do it after upsetting Brandon Moreno in February, I thought they were going to run it back with him and Pantoja, the fight that we had seen in December. I wouldn't have been upset getting it again in May, but the UFC didn't choose that route. So Royval got passed over, Mokaev got passed over, Manel Kape is scheduled to fight Matheus Nicolau after they had their fight fall through early on in the year. If Kape would have beaten Matheus at the initial date that it was scheduled, he was probably going to get this title fight. So all of these kind of wild moving pieces in this division going on, Steve Erceg, the quiet guy from Australia, slides his name into the hat. But again, 3 fights in the UFC, 3 victories, 1 finish, 2 top 15 victories. One of them was a top 10. It's not that crazy. Believe it or not, we've had less deserving fighters get championship opportunities. I think it's actually a really interesting fight. Pantoja is as well-rounded as they come. He's hitting his stride right now. He's been beating everyone that this division throws at him. Fresh matchup here against the newcomer, 28 years old, if I'm not mistaken, for Steve Erceg. He's 12-1. I think their styles clash very well. I think we're in for a treat in the main event of UFC 301. And the co-main event will feature the return of a legend. Jose Aldo is out of retirement, and he is taking on top 15 opponent Jonathan Martinez in the bantamweight division. The 2023 Hall of Fame inductee Jose Aldo last fought August of 2022 in a losing effort to a Merab Dvalishvili. Prior to that, though, he had won 3 straight fights. Marlon Chito Vera, who just challenged for a title, Pedro Munoz, a top 15 fighter, and Rob Font, a top 10 fighter. So he's coming back now to take on Jonathan. This is a banger of a fight, if you ask me. If you want to look, Jonathan Martinez is currently sitting at number 14, a very underrated fighter, in my opinion. He's a very high-level, just technical fighter, and I think he's going to bring the best out of Jose Aldo. I'm not big on fighters coming out of retirement, but Jose Aldo, 37 years old, not quite over the hill, but not in his prime. I don't know for how long he plans to make this comeback, but the UFC's letting him come back, as they should. He's a legend. If he gets a win here, he's right back into the mix at 135 pounds. And for what it's worth, since not a lot of these fights have been huge announcements, there haven't been like standalone content on the channel of YouTube or like on social media, but Anthony Smith is fighting on this card against Vitor Petrino. Michelle Pereira is making a quick turnaround and fighting Mahmoud Muradov. And Paul Craig is taking on Caio Bahaio as the main card opener. So it's not a wild knock your socks off pay-per-view, but it features a ton of Brazilian talent, lots of ranked fighters, relatively big names. It is what it is. When you have UFC 299 and UFC 300, you have to expect that there's going to be a couple pay-per-views that don't shock you to your core with the name and star potential. So adding Jose was a nice touch. Is it a great card? No. But
it is what it is.
So let me know your thoughts on UFC 301 as well. Be curious to see what you guys think about it. So follow the show on social media if you don't already at the BAJ MMA. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube and follow and rate this show on your favorite audio listening platform. It really helps the show grow. I appreciate any and all support, and I'll see you in the next episode.